Today, we're going to talk about VeChain, and not just against the US dollar, but also how it's performed against Bitcoin and Ethereum to try to get an idea of when VET is likely to start outperforming again. All right, so starting out with the VETBTC chart. So this is VeChain against Bitcoin, and you can see where ever since the April high up here, this market has really just been a series of lower highs and lower lows, and it's also carved this falling wedge pattern. Now, the market is currently coming off of support down here and moving back toward resistance. So the question now is, do we get that breakout on this move, or is this going to be more of the same where we get a rotation lower and then this area down here around 140 sats becomes the bottom for VETBTC? And we'll have to wait and see. But the one reason I think that it is likely to see a move down here toward 140 sats before the bottom is in is simply because that's the low from May, but also because if you look at the volume profile during this run up back here, for example, look at the volume during this move compared to what we've seen recently, including the current rally. So low volume during consolidation is good, but when you start to see the market move higher again, you want to see volume also increase to give you that conviction that the bottom is in and the market's likely to start making those higher highs and higher lows. And right now, we're just not seeing that. Even this current rally, you can see where the low back here lines up with this volume right through here. And so far, the volume is still just flat. We're not seeing that increase in volume to show that conviction behind the current move. So I would say unless we see volume start to really increase as the market moves up here toward resistance, so something like this, as the market approaches resistance and then we get a close above here, if that happens, and we start to carve higher highs and higher lows, then, obviously we start to have a shift in trend and we start to get that momentum, that bullish momentum for VETBTC. But until that time, as long as we see volume this low, then I think there's a good chance that we do see that rotation into 140 sats to really fill in this wick back here. And then at that time, we'll have to keep an eye on the volume to see what it looks like as we bottom out around 140 and potentially move back here toward resistance. So that's what I'm looking at for VETBTC. I think that it's closer to a bottom, but I don't know that it's quite there yet. And it's the same story for VET Ethereum. So this is the weekly time frame, and I think this chart really says it all for how VET is likely to perform against Bitcoin and also Ethereum. So if we look at this, what you'll see is a broadening wedge that has formed ever since 2019. So the market right now is still quite a ways away from support. It's about 30% lower from current levels. Now, there's nothing that says VETETH has to test that area. It could very well find support down here at some of these lows. So if we just draw a box down here, you can see that this area down here is about 15 to 20% below current levels. So there is a chance that VETETH is closer to support than we think. It doesn't have to come down here and test this trend line. However, I would have a lot more confidence in a bottom if we did see the market come down and test that support that's about 30% below current levels. Now, one other thing to keep an eye on is going to be the MACD. And I don't love indicators, especially lagging indicators, but if you look at the MACD here over the past few years, every single time this has crossed over, we have gotten a move higher from VETETH. So it hasn't marked the exact, like back here, it didn't mark the exact bottom, but it was very, very close. And so far you can see where the MACD isn't really close to crossing over just yet, which makes me think that we do have at least a few more weeks of, some sideways movement, maybe that push lower into support. And one thing about the MACD too, and this goes for really any indicator, because these are just moving averages, what you want to see when they cross over is a separation. So notice back here how aggressively the blue line crossed above the orange line. Same thing back here. We got some nice separation between these two. And once again back here, it crossed over quite aggressively during this crossover. Now, if you'll notice back here, the market, it didn't really do that. We had a lot of chop, a lot of sideways movement, and we didn't get that aggressive separation from those two moving averages. So that's going to be something to pay attention to as well, because if you'll notice back here, we did have what was almost a crossover, but not quite. So when this does cross over, you want to see a very aggressive move up and a separation from these two. Okay, so just like we've gotten every other time. All right, so it is a lagging indicator. It's not going to tell you ahead of time when VET is likely to bottom out against Ethereum, but it does help to give you that extra bit of confidence that a bottom is in. And again, I think that over the next few weeks, it is likely to get that low from VETETH, but right now I just don't have the confidence to say that the bottom is in here. I do think that what's likely is, just like with VETBTC, that maybe sometime in late February, early March, we do get a move down here into this low, and we also see that MACD start to cross over, just like every other time. So again, we compare this to VETBTC. If we look at this confluence of support down here that we just talked about, around 140 sats, that would come in sometime in late February, early March. So that kind of lines up with what we're seeing here, where if we were to see a bottom form sometime in the next 4 to 6 weeks, that would also give VETETH time to move down here toward this area, and also for the MACD on the weekly time frame to start to make that crossover. Now, one other thing about this chart that I do want to show you is there's also a chance that if we do see VETETH test that trend line down here, okay, so about 30% below current levels. So the market comes down here like this into this area and finds support, again, sometime in late February, early March. There's a chance too that we could see the MACD do something similar along this trend line. So you can see where this last crossover was a lower low compared to this one back here. So there's a chance that if we do see VETETH come down and test this trend line down here, that we also see the MACD come down and test this trend line that has developed here over the past 2 crossovers. So that would also give a little bit of confluence to the idea that the bottom is in if we do see this market move down here toward this support area. All right, so if we look at VETBTC and also VETETH, they're kind of telling the same story, and that is that VET is closer to bottoming against those 2 cryptos, but as of right now, I just can't say that the bottom is in because the key support I'm really watching is quite a bit lower from current levels, and we don't quite have that confidence, or at least I don't have that confidence to say that the bottom is in just yet and VET is likely to outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, before we move on to VETUSDT, if you guys are enjoying this content, please go ahead and smash that like button. It tells me you guys like the video, it tells YouTube you like the video, and it helps me out a lot. So if I know you guys are enjoying this content, I'm going to be more motivated to make more of it. Okay, so moving on to VETUSDT. So we've talked about this before, where we're just getting, ever since the April high back here, we've kind of gotten this symmetrical triangle where we have the upper level defined by these 2 swing highs, and then we have this lower level off of some of these recent lows. So this is where the market found support back on December 4th, and since that time, we've really just kind of gotten a lot of sideways movement during the holiday season, which is no surprise. So at the moment, I'll start with short term. At the moment, I'm watching for a move back above 8.8 cents. Now, VET did recently close above this area, and it failed to hold it. So we got the close above 8.8 cents, a move up toward 10 cents, which I mentioned previously, and you can see where this area did serve as resistance. Okay, so no surprise there, served as resistance, but then we got the close back below 8.8 cents, and that area is once again serving as resistance. So for me, as long as VET is below this area right around 10 cents, that is going to be the level that it has to get back above to start making higher highs and higher lows for that move up toward this area just above 12 cents and potentially a move back toward that trend line up around 15 cents. So until we get above 10 cents, you have to at least respect the fact that we could get another rotation lower, and especially if the market closes below this short-term trend line down here. So this level, which currently comes in just above 8 cents, if we were to see VET close below this level down here, then there's a good chance we see a rotation into that trend line, once again, somewhere around 7.5 cents. Now, below that, looking more long-term, if I move out to the weekly time frame, and we've talked about this level as well, and for me, this is really kind of a must-hold trend line. because if you notice, this level extends off of the August 2018 low, and it was critical during the bear market. So it really capped VET this entire time during the bear market. And we had this kind of inverse head and shoulders that formed here. And so this level is going to have to hold now as support, because you can see where the breakout occurred back here. So it was resistance, tested as support, got that move up toward 27 cents. So we do not want to see this market move below this area right around 6, maybe 6.5 cents. And that also lines up with a lot of these highs and lows from back here during the recent consolidation. So if we were to see Bitcoin rotate lower and test 42, maybe 40,000, like I talked about yesterday, we don't want to see this market close below that 6, maybe 6.5 cent area. That's going to be a must hold for this market to maintain that bullish structure overall, because make no mistake about it. I know a lot of people joke about VET being a stable coin and it's been so boring lately, but if you just look at this and take a step back, this market is up massively over the last couple of years. And furthermore, not only do we have an uptrend, but the market is also consolidating up here in this triangle pattern. Okay, and it's also still above, as I said, these lows down here. So this is going to be the must hold area right through here around 6 cents. So as long as that's intact, we have a market that is in a long-term uptrend and also consolidating relatively constructively within this triangle pattern. So all in all, the market does still look bullish. So regardless, if you're looking to dollar cost average, this is not financial advice, but if you are dollar cost averaging for a long-term hold, I think it makes a lot of sense to buy some of these lows around 7 and 8 cents. Now, short term, if you're looking to trade this, I wouldn't have the confidence to buy at current levels, just because, like I said, the market had closed above 8.8 cents, couldn't hold that, and failed up here. So there's still a lot of indecision here in this market. And when you look at Bitcoin too, the same thing. We don't know yet if we're going to get that retest of that $40,000 area, or if the low is in and we're just going to start making higher highs and higher lows. So I think you have to be careful here if you're dollar cost averaging for a long-term hold. As I said, I think it makes a lot of sense to buy these dips, not financial advice. But if you are looking to trade this, I can't yet say that the bottom is in and that these lows down here are going to hold as long as VET is below this area up around 10.3 cents. That's going to be the level to break to see 12 cents and potentially 15 cents. As long as that's intact though, there is a chance that we see a rotation lower into this trend line down here. And if Bitcoin does decide to test $40,000, there is even a chance we get a move down here toward the 6 to 7 cent area. But all in all, with that said, when we look and just kind of zoom out and look at this, it is still a bullish chart. Okay, so I know that it's been, pretty boring since April, but all in all, the market is still in a longer term uptrend, and we are getting that consolidation inside of this triangle pattern. So as long as it's above that 6 cent area, I'm still bullish on VET over the next year. And I think that if we get above 10 cents, that 10.3 cent area, then I do think we get that move back toward the 12 cent region and potentially 15 cents and then some. And one last thing too, if you look at this triangle, and as long as this stays intact, one way to project where VET could be going is if you take the height of this structure and you measure from a potential breakout area. So the height of this structure back here is about 22 cents. So if you take a potential breakout area through here and just measure higher from there 22 cents, you get an area up around, the high 30s, right around 38 cents, maybe 40 cents. So that could be the objective if VET does break out of this pattern later this year. Of course, it has a long way to go to do that, but if it does break out, you're probably looking at a target up around 40 cents for VET, which I know it's not a dollar. I know everybody's obsessed with a dollar VET, but I don't think anybody's going to complain about 40-cent VET, right? If VET hits 40 cents, especially if you were buying this around a penny or 5 cents or whatever, or even from current levels from 8 cents, hitting 40 cents would be a massive gain from even current levels. So anyway, guys, I hope that that's helped. And if you did enjoy this content, again, smash that like button and be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you get notified every time I post these videos. And also don't forget to leave your comment below. I hope this video has helped. I'll talk to you guys soon.